June 8th, 793 AD. A quiet morning on the island of Lindisfarne, off the coast of England. The monks at the local monastery are waking up to pray. They think they're safe. Why wouldn't they be? They're on a holy island. But then they see them. Strange ships, long, narrow, and fast, beaching on the sand. Men with shields and axes jump into the surf. Before the sun is high in the sky, the monastery is in flames, the gold is gone, and the world has changed forever. This was the beginning of the Viking Age. For the next 300 years, the people of Scandinavia would terrorize, trade with, and transform the known world. But who were they really? Were they just mindless barbarians, or were they something much more sophisticated? First things first, let's bust a few myths. If you're picturing a guy in a helmet with big cow horns, I'm sorry to break it to you, that never happened. Those were invented by 19th century opera costume designers. And the word Viking, it wasn't the name of a country or an ethnic group. In Old Norse, Vikingur was a job title. It was a verb. You didn't belong to the Vikings, you went Viking. It meant to go on an expedition, usually for seaborne raiding, trading. They came from Scandinavia, modern-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Back then, it was a harsh land of deep fjords, thick forests, and very little farmable soil. Society was split into 3 tiers: the thralls, slaves who did the hardest work, the carls, free peasants, farmers, and smiths, and the jarls, the noblemen and leaders. So why did they leave? Why did they suddenly decide to start raiding their neighbors? Some historians say it was overpopulation. Others say it was revenge against Christian expansion. But the most likely reason, they were looking for a better life, and they had the technology to go find it. You can't talk about Vikings without talking about their ships. This was the Ferrari of the Middle Ages. Look at this design. It's symmetrical, meaning it can reverse direction without turning around, perfect for a quick getaway in a narrow river. It has a shallow draft, meaning it could sail in water just 3 feet deep. This allowed Vikings to sail across the Atlantic Ocean, but also, and this is the scary part, to sail right up tiny rivers into the heart of a country. Imagine being a farmer 50 miles inland, thinking you're safe, and suddenly a dragon-headed ship appears in your backyard creek. They used clinker building, overlapping wooden planks to make the hull flexible. It didn't fight the waves, it moved with them. These ships were the reason the Vikings could strike anywhere, anytime, with total surprise. At first, Viking raids were smash and grab. They'd hit a monastery, take the silver, and sail home. But as they realized how weak the European kingdoms were, the raids turned into invasions. In 865 AD, they stopped sending small boatloads of men and sent what the English called the Great Heathen Army. Thousands of warriors landed in England, not to raid, but to conquer. They took over nearly all of England except for the Kingdom of Wessex. They even besieged Paris. Legend has it the French king had to pay them 7,000 pounds of silver just to get them to leave. But here's the thing, they weren't just raiders, they were brilliant tacticians. They used psychological warfare, the terrifying Raven Banner, and they were incredibly disciplined in the shield wall. While the men were away Viking, what was happening back in Scandinavia? Actually, Viking society was surprisingly progressive for the time, especially for women. While most European women had 0 rights, Viking women could own property. They could sue for divorce, and they were the CEOs of the farm while the men were gone. We often find Viking women buried with keys. These were symbols of their authority over the household and the wealth. And yes, there is some evidence of shield maidens, women who actually fought, though historians still debate how common it was. They also had a legal system called the Thing. It was an outdoor assembly where free men would gather to settle disputes and make laws. It wasn't quite a democracy, but it was far more organized than the lawless barbarian image we see in movies. To understand a Viking, you have to understand their gods. They didn't worship in churches, they saw the divine in nature. You have Odin, the All-Father, who gave an eye for wisdom, Thor, the protector of humanity with his hammer Mjolnir, and Freya, the goddess of love and war. But the most important concept was Valhalla. The Vikings believed that if you died in battle, you would be taken by Valkyries to Odin's great hall to feast and fight until the end of the world, Ragnarok. This belief made them fearless. If your fate was already written by the Norns, the weavers of destiny, why be afraid of a sword? You might as well die bravely and earn your seat at the table. Raiding was only half the story. The Vikings were the greatest explorers of their age. They settled Iceland, they reached Greenland, and around the year 1000 AD, 500 years before Columbus, Leif Erikson landed in North America, a place they called Vinland. To the east, Swedish Vikings known as the Russ, where the name Russia comes from, sailed down the rivers of Europe to reach Constantinople and Baghdad. They traded fur and amber for silk and silver. They even became the personal bodyguards for the Byzantine emperor, known as the elite Varangian Guard. So how did it end? Did they just disappear? Not exactly. They changed. By the 11th century, the Viking kingdoms began converting to Christianity. The raiding stopped as Scandinavia became part of the European political system. The official end of the Viking Age is often cited as 1066 at the Battle of Stamford Bridge, where the last great Viking king, Harald Hardrada, was defeated. But the Vikings didn't really leave. They left their DNA in England, France, Russia, and beyond. They gave us words like husband, sky, window, and law. They were raiders, yes, but they were also poets, lawmakers, and the greatest sailors the world had ever seen. Next time you see a stormy sea, just imagine, somewhere out there, a dragon-headed ship is cutting through the waves, heading for the edge of the world.